Mookie Betts and Yoshinobu Yamamoto are likely out for months with injuries. Midwest scribes are already claiming that the Chargers have lost the Keenan Allen trade and he hasn't played a snap with the Bears. And USC basketball admits they don't have a center or a point guard. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. And so it is June 17th, 2024. Once again, reporting from the sanctum sanctorum of LA sports. But by the time you see this clip, I'm going to be on a plane heading east for work, which obviously sucks for me. But we can still get the week off right by talking LA sports. And if you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, look at the scoreboard. Dodgers 3, Kansas City 0. Shohei Ohtani hit his 18th home run of the year. It was a 451-foot scud to center field. Freddie Freeman added his 10th homer. The Dodgers lead the NL West by 8 games. And they're going to need it because we're going to talk more about them in a moment. Meanwhile, Atlanta 87, Sparks 74. The Sparks are 4-10. The less said, the better. Meanwhile, today, the Dodgers are at Colorado at 5:40. James Paxton is 6-1 with a 3.92 ERA. Cal Quantrill is 6-4 with a 3.30 ERA. And let's get to the news. There are 7 Dodger starting pitchers on the injured list. And we'll get to that in a moment because I start with that because at some point you had to figure the bad luck would hit the position players too at some point. And not just scrubs, even good ones. Like Mookie Betts, who took a 98-mile-an-hour fastball to the hand on Sunday. And you don't have to be a doctor to know that there's a lot of little bones in the hand and the wrist. So, smash. People in the lower level of Dodger Stadium could hear the ball hit Betts. That's suboptimal. Dave Roberts said after the game that Betts would not need surgery, so that's a blessing in the sense that it's not season ending. Betts will get a further evaluation today. And by the way, some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be upfront and tell you it's speculation in terms of medical stuff. But there's not a timeline for Betts to return. Betts leaves the lineup for his unwanted vacay, hitting .304 with 10 home runs. He was clearly on his way to an 8th All-Star selection. In the meantime, Miguel Rojas is expected to get the majority of playing time at short. Now, Rojas is going to be a defensive upgrade because shortstop is his natural position. And he's also hitting .270-ish, so it's not catastrophic. But he's not Mookie Betts. We face reality here at Faithful Angelenos Sports. We don't sugarcoat it. It wasn't that long ago when Betts was considered the second best player in the game behind Mike Trout. With Betts, the Dodgers had a top-heavy lineup that literally would drop like the crypto market after the 5th hitter. Now that lineup likely wipes out after the cleanup slot. The speculation amongst the scribes is that without Betts, Shohei Ohtani moves to leadoff. Teoscar Hernandez will be in the 4-hole. How second and third plays out, whether it's Freddie Freeman and Will Smith or Will Smith and then Freddie Freeman, honestly, I don't know. What I can tell you about how long Betts is going to be out, like I said, it's speculation. But from what I understand from having talked to a couple of doctors who obviously have not seen Mookie Betts, the run-of-the-mill time to recover from a broken hand is about 3 months. So there's a really good shot he is gone until September. And by the way, pitching staff, bad news there too. As the Dodgers feared, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was placed on the 15-day injured list with tricep tightness. Now, if you're asking what the hell that is, the LA Times found out a little bit more. They're referring to it as a rotator cuff strain, which was discovered when they did an MRI on his shoulder. which is where the rotator cuff is, by the way. Robert said Yamamoto will be out for weeks, which means it'll obviously be way longer than 15 days on the injured list. At least it's not a forearm issue, because every time the Dodgers say somebody has a forearm issue, they wind up with Tommy John surgery and you don't see him for 2 years. But here is what makes things even goofier. They placed the guy who replaced Yamamoto on Saturday also on the injured list. Yes, Saturday was BOGO night over at Chavez Ravine. Break one, get one more broken one for free. Michael Grove, who was once in the starting rotation, or in the running for the starting rotation, has a strained lat muscle, so he is out too. The Dodgers, as I mentioned earlier, now have 7 starting pitchers on the injured list. Now, to be fair, Bobby Miller is scheduled to come off that list and start in Colorado on Wednesday. To fill the roster spots, the Dodgers brought up J.P. Feyereisen and Michael Peterson. But at some point, we have to ask if the Dodgers are willing to face reality. And I say this as a lifelong Dodger fan. Robert said that putting Yamamoto on the IL, quote, seems like the smartest thing, unquote. But is that really the smartest thing? Because to me, it seems like the smartest thing is to ask yourself why you have 7 starting pitchers on the injured list. And then, you know what a follow-up question would be? That would be pretty smart. What can we do to not put so many pitchers on the injured list? Right? Tell me if I'm wrong. And by the way, reliever Joe Kelly, to also make a roster spot, he was moved to the 60-day injured list. So we've talked a lot about this, and I want to try and wrap it up and give you an idea of what's going on, because I realize this is bad news on top of horrible news on top. It's like a 3-layer misery cake that I'm handing you on a day that you should feel blessed. Enjoy your 3 layers of misery. But I think a few things bear discussing. 1, we were talking last week about the starting rotation potentially getting very crowded with Miller's return. Not only is Bobby Miller returning, but then you got Clayton Kershaw expected around the All-Star break. So maybe that's not as bad as it sounds, with Yamamoto being out for a while. 2, we mentioned earlier the Dodgers have an 8-game lead in the NL West. And it grew. The lead grew with the Dodgers playing 500 ball recently. If the Dodgers lost every game for a week and Slime Diego won every game for a week, the Padres would still be in second place. And by the way, that's highly unlikely to happen because the Puds are below 500. So the Dodgers simply have to avoid falling to pieces to keep that lead. 3rd point. You've probably seen a lot of panic posting on social media from people who claim to be in the know. Oh my God, the Dodgers need to make a blockbuster trade before the plane lands in Colorado. No, they don't. Because they have an 8-game lead. They can be patient. Although I would suggest that the incremental upgrade plan that apparently was the original thought might not apply anymore. Not when you're down Mookie Betts. Maybe the Dodgers do need to go big game hunting. 4th, and most important point, LA is still going to reach the postseason. The goal for the franchise this year is a title. That was the thought that kept going through my head with all of this bad news. Seeing the bad news, writing about the bad news. If Betts' season isn't over, and if the Dodgers, as we will probably agree, are unlikely to give up an 8-game lead, then in my opinion, this doesn't really change the Dodgers' focus from the big picture because they'll have Yamamoto and Betts back by the end of the year. You let me know what you think in the comments thread, because that's a lot of Dodger misery to share with the class. Meanwhile, hopefully this doesn't come across as homering for the local team, But it does help to get some information from outside sources, an exterior view of our teams. There's a website dedicated to Chicago sports that's suggesting the Chargers have already lost the Keenan Allen trade because the remaining receivers on the Chargers can't catch. Okay, possibly, but here's why I don't necessarily buy it. This website cites a report in The Athletic where the scribe on Tuesday wrote, quote, "The offense got off to a sluggish start in the morning practice. The Chargers dropped 5 passes in the opening period of 11-on-11. The most egregious came from tight end Stone Smart, who was wide open down the seam and dropped what would have been a touchdown," unquote. Okay, guys, sounds bad, but Smart is 4th on the tight end depth chart. 4th. Which tells me that at the early stages of 11-on-11, the Chargers put out a bunch of scrubs out there. No offense to said scrubs. And I don't doubt for a second that the Bolts are going to wind up wishing they were able to keep Allen, Mike Williams. I have no doubt about that. But you have to come with more proof to me than saying that the 4th string tight end can't catch before I start saying that the Chargers have lost the Keenan Allen trade. Besides that, Keenan Allen is going to have a rookie at quarterback. We don't know how Caleb Williams is going to be in the NFL yet. And as for Smart, I've never seen a 4th string tight end that didn't have more drops than a penis with an STD. Sorry guys, Monday morning, what are you going to do? Meanwhile, also with the Chargers defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter said something kind of obvious about the roster construction. Depth in the pass rush was vital. The Bolts knew what they had in Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. There's no question about that. But as we discussed before, the roster was very thin, skinnier than Ariana Grande. And Bosa and Mack, they would get hurt. And when they got hurt, the Chargers couldn't get to the quarterback. So now the Chargers have second-year player Tuli Tuipulotu, and they signed free agent Bud Dupree to potentially blunt the injury issue if it winds up popping up again. Said Minter, quote, "It's a violent game, and particularly when you play the right way. Playing 17 games on the defensive front is a challenge. The first thing it allows you to do is to keep those guys fresh and have a good rotation. There are certainly those 4 who are proven commodities in this league. The way Tuli played as a rookie, didn't look like a rookie, plays with a violence and a physicality we want to play with. There's certainly a blessing to having those 4 guys," unquote. So yeah, even if the Chargers are lacking a wide receiver, which I don't doubt, I like their pass rush. USC basketball coach Eric Musselman acknowledged that the Trojans lack height. Now, it may not always be that way for Musselman's career in SoCal, but it damn sure was part of the plan for year 1. Quote, "We wanted guys who could play multiple positions. We felt in year 1 it was super important that we had versatility. Guys 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". We do have some duplications of that. Some guys are going to have to play out of position," unquote. Now, as a result, that means that these players will have to learn positions that might not match up with their size or skill set, such as center and point guard. So it's an awkward roster, but they're going to see what they can do to make it work. But you let me know in the comments thread what you think. Talk to me, for example, about the Dodgers' prospects over the next 3 months. Does it change your outlook in terms of the trade deadline? Do you think the Dodgers could actually cough up an 8-game lead? Do you believe the Chargers actually lost the Keenan Allen trade already? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos, because we're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.